Hello lads and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about my top tips for new and younger drivers. So whether you are new to driving in general, or whether you're a young driver who's just passed their test, these are a few of my tips that will help you get on the road safely and have a little bit more fun whilst not putting your car in a wall and costing yourself a lot of money. My first tip is going to be make sure you know what you're looking out for when it comes to maintenance on your car and what you need to know to make sure your car is safe whilst you're on the road. You hear this a lot on your driving test and your show me tell me questions and all like that, but you'll hear a lot about tyre tread, 1.6mm being the minimum. It's fine to hear people saying, oh, you need 1.6mm minimum tread and all that, but you need to know ways to check it, and there are a couple of ways to do this. The first way is with a 20p. You can get a 20p, stick it in the main section of your tyre tread, and if the outer rim of the 20p is showing, then your tyres are on the bare minimum. If you have a look on most tyres as well, there are sort of little rubber markers in the tread, and when your actual tread comes down to meet those markers and it's flush with them, then your tyres are sort of on the minimum tread too. Keep an eye out for any uneven wear across the tread too. Any blistering, any bulging, anything that looks like it's cracked or drying up or doing anything like that could be dangerous and could cause blowouts, could cause just instabilities, aquaplaning, things like that in the wet. So make sure you know your tyres. Tyres when you first start driving might not seem that important, but they are in fact the most important thing because they're the only contact between you and the road. So if they're worn, it's not going to be fun. Avoid budget tyres too, or second-hand ones, because you don't know what sort of damage they've been through. And as much as new tyres are more expensive, not sponsored, it is worth picking up new tyres and treating them properly, because they will treat you properly back too. Make sure your tyre pressures are at the right amount too. You can check this in your logbook, down the side of your door sills, or sometimes it's the petrol filler cap that has your pressures on for the tyres at different weights. Like sometimes if you load your car up heavily, you might need to change your pressures slightly, so that's also important to keep an eye out on. Know when you lift up the bonnet what is going on, what needs to be at what level. Let me tell me questions on the driving test, kind of roughly go over this, but sometimes they won't come up and sometimes people don't actually sort of have a look into what your engine needs to be topped up with. So basic things like where your oil dipstick is and how to check it. Like removing it, bring in a tissue with you or something to wipe it on, wipe it clean, reinsert it and then pull it back out, and note on the markers where your oil level is. It should be sat in the middle of the two markers roughly. If it's a little bit higher, a little bit lower, it doesn't matter that much. As long as there is some on there, you'll be okay. You may need to top it up if it's right at the bottom. Know where your coolant level is as well, and note if it's sitting in between the minimum and maximum levels. It can lead to all sorts of overheating problems, and those are really something you don't want to be dealing with, especially as they could potentially leave you stranded in all sorts of fun places. Be wise to bring a bottle of coolant with you in the back of your car too, if you know that your car does use it. And if it drops seriously all the time, if it's losing coolant, then it's worth checking it out mechanically and taking it to a shop if you can't do it yourself. Know basic things as well, like windscreen washer fluid. I know that's really basic, but you're going to need to keep that topped up. A really basic tip as well is to learn that different driving conditions require different driving styles. So you can't just drive the same in the dry, in the wet, in the snow, in the ice, and when it's muddy or slippery and greasy outside. You have to adapt your driving conditions depending on your car, depending if it's front wheel drive or rear wheel drive as well, and the condition that you think your tyres are in and things like that too. For example, in the wet, if you know that your tyres are on the way out and they're sort of coming to the end of their tread depth, you don't want to be going as quickly because the chances of you aquaplaning are much higher. Know that in the wet, your stopping distance doubles, and in icy and snowing conditions, it can go to sort of 10 times that, if not more. Keep that in mind and avoid tailgating in general, and especially in the wet. In the wet, you can't corner, brake, or accelerate nearly as fast, and things like traction control, stability control are going to try and step in and save you if you push these on the regular. This leads me on to another point as well, which is take a skid pan or advanced driving course if you can, or the combination of the two. Learning how to control front wheel drive and rear wheel drive cars on a skid pan really is an awesome skill to be able to know, and it's good to know that you know what to do if your car was to ever accidentally slide in dodgy conditions. Going over the very basics of that, if a front wheel drive car starts to slide on the back end, power is going to save you. Point your car where you want to go, get on the power, it will pull it straight. Rear wheel drive car is a little bit different. You just want to counter steer, which is steer into your slide. So if the back of your car is sliding left, you steer left into it, and you kind of gently come off the throttle. Don't just snap the throttle off, because that's going to make it worse and all sorts of fun things. I will do a video going into how to save slides in front-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive cars later. I might be going to do a little skid pan course up at Thruxton fairly soon, so I will take you guys with me and we can go over that in a little bit more detail. Advanced courses in general, no matter how small they are, will all help towards your better driving, even if it's taking things like skid pans, taking things like your racing license, your ARDS license, going to do courses like Pass Plus. Pass Plus itself is pretty good because it takes a little bit off your insurance price too. I think it's only a small amount, but it is something, and it will go towards your credibility and your confidence when you're on the road too. Another little tip that I found really helped me when I was starting to drive was taking your CBT on a moped or a motorbike. Now this is an interesting one because learning how to ride a motorbike on the road really gives you an appreciation for the road and looking forwards down into traffic and the road conditions meters down the road, and really keeping your eyes up and forwards looking for dangerous things. Because you are so much more vulnerable, it really does give you an appreciation for how little can unsettle a tyre and unsettle the road conditions too. But if you have the spare time, you would like to get into that sort of thing anyway, then it's definitely worth considering because it helps your car driving even more so, I'd say, than it does your motorbike skills. As a tip and more a warning is that when you're a new driver now, being on the phone is something that's even less of something that you should be considering doing. There's a weird sentence. On the phone is being raised to 6 points on your license, and when you're a new driver, that means that's an insta ban. Once you get a driving ban or disqualification, insurance companies are just going to laugh at you. They're not even going to consider you in the future, and if they do, you'll be paying extortionate amounts of money, so just keep away from that. Speeding too, if you get 6 points on your license, which is 2 minor speeding tickets, then that's a disqualification too within the first 2 years. So keep your speed down if you can, especially when it's wet, especially when it's snowy or icy or anything like that. First pass your test, and I know I was like this too, you're going to want to pile as many people into your car as possible and go to wherever, just go everywhere. It's not the best idea within the first couple weeks. Spend the first couple weeks when you pass getting used to your car, getting used to how it feels, how it's like with more load in it, with like, you know, bags in the back and heavier things in it too. Everyone's egging you on to do stupid stuff. You've got more weight in the car as well, so you're probably going to stall more, and it's just something that is embarrassing if you get things wrong within the first couple of weeks, and you're going to get frustrated and upset and things like that. So keep the people in the back to a minimum until you've had a few weeks kind of driving experience, and then start piling people in. It passes on to another point of not really telling too many of your friends when you're going to be taking your driving test, because you can sort of take your test, no one knows, you can get a bit of practice in, and then jump everyone with saying you've passed. They're going to think you're amazing, and you're going to be an amazing driver too. A tip in general for driving, especially when you get on motorways and dual carriageways, is avoid driving in people's blind spots. The blind spots of vehicles are generally the sort of back corners of them, and they're just when you go to overtake people and you're sort of past the back of their car and not quite up to their side mirror. You're just out of their peripheral vision, and you're just out of their side mirrors too. So it's that weird grey area where they can't quite see you unless they turn around and really like look over their shoulder, right? And a lot of people don't really do that. They'll just check their mirror or something. And if you're not in the mirror and you're right next to them, then you can get some nasty accidents where people turn across the nose of others. You see that quite a lot with lorries. They'll sort of pull out on people, or they'll pull into the middle of the lane or something when someone's there, and it's quite a scary thing. So if it's a lorry or a van especially, either stay behind or get in front of them quickly. Just make sure that they know you're there, and don't hover around those spots, because the longer you're there, the more chance they're going to move over on you or do something dangerous. Lorries generally find it tricky when you're right next to them as well, because they can't really see over and down their windowsill. I know some of them have mirrors and stuff, but some don't, especially if it's a left-hand drive lorry too, because they're right over there, they can't see there. They don't have a, some have like a weird little window down here, but some, and the majority don't. Financially, a cool little tip is get some track driving experience. Not only is it a way to get fast driving out of your system, it teaches you oversteer, understeer, how to control it, how to be safe in close proximity to other people, and just general driving improvement. And it will teach you how painful crashes are as well. That's something. Whether it's track days in a rented race car or go-karts, it's definitely worth giving that a go, and I feel like that's something that helped me massively when I started driving too, because I used to do a hell of a lot of track driving in the form of go-karting. So I feel that's bled into my road driving and made me safer. By the way, thank you so much for 8,000 subscribers. I just hit it this morning, which is nutty to me. I think I'm just gonna say thank you every time it goes over 1,000, and just every 1,000 I'm gonna be like, hey, thank you, but which will get annoying, I'm sure. But thank you so much for that. It's getting close to 10k. Alright guys, thank you for watching the video today, and I hope some of these tips helped you and made you a little bit more confident with how you're going to be tackling that first couple of years of driving. Or if you've already been driving for a little while, I hope it sort of confirmed what you've been doing. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like and comment. Let me know down below what you would like to see in future videos, and if you enjoyed this one. Make sure to subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one.